everyone, welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and my guest today is an amazing woman. She is a Holy Fire 3 Reiki master. Her name is Rhianna Mays. She's also an intuitive healer, an access bars practitioner, and I feel like so much more. But welcome, Rhianna. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to share your story. I'm always curious with healers if this has been something on your radar for a long time. Did you have an intuitive knowing? Did you have intuitive gifts from an early age? Or was it something that kind of came online a little bit later?
Well, being a healer definitely was not on my radar because I felt like I was a mess most of my life. So I didn't think I had any business helping other people, though I've always been guided to help, right? So
Right.
I say from a young age, I had abilities. I can remember meeting people and people would say, "Oh, isn't he such a great guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, like, I don't know why, but I know he's not a great guy." And I was always proven right. So I think I had a lot of those intuitive empath abilities young, but I grew up in a religious upbringing, and I taught through a variety of ways that, maybe that's not from God or that's not something that you want to explore.
There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear around our gifts in the traditional religious paradigm.
I would agree. There's a lot of it, a lot of fear. And I have my theories about that fear and why that's instilled in us, but definitely a lot of fear growing up and didn't really explore any of those gifts. But I can remember always getting a sense of things and really honestly thinking I was like back like crazy, right? Because I was an empath and absorbing all this energy. I thought
it's so hard.
Yeah. So, one minute I'm happy and the next minute I'm sad, and the next minute my ankle hurts and then I'm crying and it's like, what?
Like a mess.
Yeah. And so now I realize, okay, I was just absorbing everything around me and feeling it as if it's my own. And that's part of my mission now, is to really get people to understand what is an empath and what does that look like, and how to, self-care. Empath self-care is huge.
You know what's so hard is back when we were kids, this type of conversation wasn't common. And so I think there are so many of us out there experiencing these things, and people just, kind of criticizing us for being sensitive or dramatic or whatever. We really were absorbing the energy and emotion and physicality of people around us.
Yeah.
We had no discernment around even that this belonged to someone else and not us.
Yeah. Yeah. I got called a drama queen like my entire life, right? And I can see why they would think that, why I would get that label. It wasn't until my mid-30s when I actually realized, oh, this isn't even mine. Like, now what do I do with this? So
how'd you figure that out? How did you figure out that this, what you were feeling belonged to everyone else? That must have been quite a powerful awakening.
It was. I think when you have that knowledge, it changes everything, right? Because you can let go of a lot of diagnosis. You can get clear-minded. You don't have to walk around with all this pain. And honestly, I don't remember the moment I realized the stuff wasn't mine. I think it was after going through my spiritual awakening and this information just finding me, the way the universe will put things in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember a lot of, key moments like that, but I just remember one day, like, getting it. This isn't even mine. And
what a gift.
Now I teach people, how to absorb out on purpose, how to transmute it, make sure your body lets it go, and check in. Is this even mine? So it's really powerful, and it sounds so simple, but like you said, we're not having these conversations enough, or we didn't for a long time. So I'm happy to be part of the conversation.
Especially back when we were kids. I think the world is going through a spiritual awakening right now in a more powerful and present way.
Mm-hmm.
You can go anywhere and get information.
Yeah.
Do that back then.
No.
And we were also raised in very conservative and a religious type of background. I was raised Catholic myself.
Okay. Yeah.
So typically everything that's not Catholic is you're going to hell or it's a sin.
Yeah.
Or both. So I was in trouble.
Yeah. So, I was raised in a conservative religious background too, and everything was, Bible based, and I can remember, being always questioning what I was hearing at church, and it never really resonated.
I did too, and people didn't like that.
No, and
you weren't supposed to question anything.
Yeah, and I can remember one day I was like 17, and I asked my dad, "So if God is so loving, like, why do I have to fear Him? That makes no sense. Like, I couldn't make it make sense, right?" And so I had this long explanation, like I'm supposed to fear Him like a parent. But I even raised my children very differently than I was raised, and so the fear-based, even fear your parents, that didn't make sense to me either. So I've been questioning for a long time, and nobody really liked that about me. And even now, my family is starting to come around. But when I first started healing, I'm sure they thought I was poking voodoo dolls in the closet. Who knows what they thought, but they wanted nothing to do with anything.
I can relate to that on so many levels.
And it's funny now, but it's really unfortunate. They've really closed themselves off, and it took, for instance, my dad having a stroke, and took some convincing, like, not convincing, because I'm not here to shove it down anyone's throat, but
sure.
Like, convincing my father to be at least open-minded enough to consider that I might be a tool in God's toolbox to help him heal from this. And he's like, "Well, I'll think about it." I told him the story. I'm not sure if you've heard the story. There's this guy on a roof and it's flooding, and a police officer comes with a boat. And he's like, "Jump in." He's like, "No, God's going to save me." And then a helicopter drops the ladder, and he's like, "No, God's got me." And then he gets to heaven, and he's like, "Where were you? Why didn't you save me?" And God's like, "Well, I sent a boat, and I sent a helicopter." So I told my dad, "What if I'm your helicopter?" And so it took him a while, but he has allowed me to send remote healing.
Ooh, that's big that he was even open to that.
It only took 3 years and a stroke, but
well,
we're making some progress.
Yeah, that's huge progress.
It is huge.
I know that you have a degree in a bachelor's in business management, so it sounds to me like you kind of followed a traditional trajectory in your life. Probably went to college, got a job, Yeah. When did you start to feel the pull to actually step into this healing role and really be the person you were born to be? It takes courage to do that, to shift from the traditional paradigm and go into something like healing.
So I think it was a progression of things that happened. I remember, in my early 20s, diagnosing myself with a thyroid condition. I just knew. And even today, I have some medical abilities, and I just knew, and the doctors couldn't find it because I was always in the north range. So I switched to organic food and essential oils, and I just did what I could. And then I remember, in 2015, looking at my ex-husband. I was in a really bad place spiritually. I had a hole in my cup, and like nothing would fill my soul up. And just thinking, this guy's a great guy, but I'm never going to make him happy. Like, I'm I'm not the person that'll make him happy. And so I left with like a bed, a dresser, a lamp, and $500 to my name. And I moved out with the knowledge, just this knowing that he deserved to be happy. It wasn't going to be with me. And I needed to do something, and I couldn't do it here. And I couldn't articulate what it was I needed to do, but I just had this knowing. And then less than a year later, I'll never forget this. I was reading some articles on Facebook, and none of them had anything to do with crystal healing, but all three of them in one day mentioned rose quartz. And I knew enough, because I wouldn't consider myself awake. I was intuitive, but didn't really practice that or really harness it. But I knew enough, okay, I'm supposed to be wearing rose quartz. And so I went to our local crystal shop and bought a rose quartz pendant, which I had worn every day for a year. And it was, and I realized this today, it was the vibrational frequency just enough to tip the scales for me to get over the hump of my suffering, and it just woke me up. Like within days, I looked around and everything was different, and I was seeing the angel numbers. I could sense beings around me, and it was just like, what just happened? I had this internal knowing, like,
Right.
it's hard to explain, but I just knew what was going on. And and then Reiki just landed in my lap almost within 60 days of the rose quartz pendant. So then some people know, but I had a really traumatic childhood. I mean, I think a lot of us healers experience some of the worst, so that we can get through it and on the other side and help people from a place of compassion, empathy, and real understanding. And so I'm not unique in that, but I had a pretty rough experience and held that trauma in my body, and was wrongly diagnosed bipolar in my late 20s. I was on a bunch of medicine and it never worked. I had an allergic reaction to everything.
Oh no.
PTSD. I mean, I was a disaster. I really was. And after wearing this rose quartz, and I was seeing a trauma specialist at the time, Reiki just landed in my lap. To this day, I don't even know. Everyone's like, how did you find Reiki? I'm like, I don't know. It just was one of those things that the universe put on my radar. I went. I had this really unexpected experience where, and you have to remember, I was still in my religious fear programming. What am I getting into?
This has been very difficult to reconcile.
It was because I'm going to go do Reiki, right? What is this? But I was so sick of being sick that I would do anything at this point. And I trusted that if this was on my radar, there was a reason. And so I went, and I remember laying on the bed, and she started the Reiki session, and all of a sudden I could hear this whooshing noise. And I was looking around the room from a different perspective. Like I was sitting up, my soul had sat up out of my body. And what I understand, it was to make room for the trauma to be pushed out of my body.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I laid back down, and that happened 2 more times. My soul sat up to make room, trauma moved out. And I was almost a different person within a couple weeks. And then
so powerful. Wow.
It was really powerful. And it's so funny because the Reiki master, I'm friends with her now, but I didn't know her when I went. And she's one of those that she has zero attachment to the outcome. So she didn't really prep me. She just did the Reiki session. Then she's like, okay, drink a lot of water and have a great day. And I was like, what in the hell just happened? I had no idea. But I knew that I was different. And then I did 2 more Reiki sessions, and within 45 to 60 days of my first Reiki session, I was audibly hearing run, jump, trust, holding myself in my little cubicle, like white knuckling my body into my chair because it wanted to run. And I'm hearing run, jump, trust. And it's like, so for 8 hours, an entire shift, I heard this. And it took me everything in me to stay in my chair. I was
oh my gosh.
And at the end of the day, I looked around. I was like, I don't even know who I'm talking to, but I have $400 in my checking account and I have small children to feed. I'm not going anywhere. And I went home and ignored it and chalked it up to a really weird day. And they kept at it for 3 or 4 weeks. Run, jump, trust.
It's so intense, the pressure. When you're getting a message to do something and you're denying it, I've been in that situation and it just starts pressing. At first, it's just a nudge.
Yeah.
A little voice in the back of your head that you can just kind of ignore and brush to the side. And the longer you ignore it,
the worse it
gets. The more aggressive it starts pressing. It gets so uncomfortable. It's like you have no choice, and you have knowing too that if you don't do this, forget it. This is the unrelenting, like water torture or something. You listen and do what you're being told. It's like that aggressive at the end, right?
Well, it felt like either I was oblivious or once I woke up, it honestly felt like I had taken so long to wake up and I had so much work to do serving others that the universe was like, oh my God, thank God she's awake, Band-Aid off, we're sprinting, like it's time to go. And so, you know, it was like added, you know, I may have had little sayings like I got in trouble with the boss because, well, I just never, I don't know, something about women leaders that maybe it's because I'm an alpha, I don't know, but you know, it was like one thing after another of like at work thinking, maybe I shouldn't be here, but what am I going to do? And do I really want to find another job? And then bam, run, jump, trust. And it was audible. And it was, like you said, I couldn't ignore it. And it was brutal for like 3 weeks. But the crazy thing is like, I knew they wanted me to be a Reiki master, a Reiki healer. I knew that was where they were leading me. But the crazy thing is like, I wasn't even certified in Reiki yet. And I had 3 sessions, like I'd received 3. But I knew this was the path. And so I remember, you know, something had happened at work and I got written up or something. And it was because a conversation was misunderstood or whatever. And whatever the reason, it was just the universe saying, how many more signs do we need to give you?
Right.
And how many more run-ins do you need before you actually listen to us? So I had called a Reiki person, got in for my 4th session, and I showed up that night and I was like, I think I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. And you have to keep in mind, at the time I was on a whole bunch of medicine. I still had a thyroid condition. I was seeing a doctor at least once a week. And she's like, what are you going to do without health insurance? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm being harassed. Like I'm literally being harassed and they won't leave me alone until I do this. So I think I have to quit my job and become a Reiki practitioner.
And you were a single mom at that time?
I was a single mom of like 4.5-year-old twin girls.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I do the session, the knowing that like I'm pretty sure I'm quitting my job tomorrow. And sure enough, she could see me in what looked like a white medical lab coat, and I was helping the coroner's office figure out the cause of death when they couldn't. I was using medical intuitive abilities. And I thought, okay, there it is. Like, this is my path and I have to quit. And so the interesting thing was, I'd made the decision, but again, I had less than $500 to my name, and I'm going to quit a job where I'm already struggling to like pay the bills, and I'm going to feed young children and pay the rent and trust that this is like all working out. And
that was asking a lot of you, I think.
What?
That was asking a lot. That required such faith that and knowing that what you were getting was truth. Like, I'm so amazed that you were able to really do that and actually run, jump, and trust.
Well, I'll be honest with you, it was terrifying. it was terrifying.
I can't imagine.
But what made, because, and part of the reason it was so scary was because, I grew up, I knew there was a higher power. I called him God. I loved him. I knew he loves me. However, when like people would go through bad situations, I'm like, give it to God and pray, he'll take care of it. But for some reason, none of that, I didn't actually believe like it applied to me, right? Because if he was so great, why had my life been such a train wreck up until this point? And why had I suffered so deeply? And so I had a real struggle with trusting that if I run, jump, trust, is this actually going to work out okay?
Yeah.
Or am I going to look like the bat crazy single mom who now can't feed her kids? So I left that Reiki session. I was driving home, and I was about 3 blocks from home. And I said out loud, okay, if you want me to do this, I'm going to do this. I will trust you. I will trust that you're going to take care of this. And the minute I said, I'll trust you, I heard Rhianna, look up. And I was heading west, and the sun was setting, and I saw Jesus in the clouds.
That's incredible.
And I took tears because I was bawling, and he held out his hands like this, and he said, I've got you. And I just lost it. I just lost it and cried.
Holy
and I pulled over, and I
crap. That's insane.
I've got you. And
Girl.
and so I just knew that was the sign I needed, that once I relinquished control, because I am a recovering control freak. Like, I'm always working on relinquishing control because they're going to do it better. But I need some control. So the minute I let that go, the universe showed up in a way that a lot of people hear, and I think it sounds kind of unbelievable, but it happened, and I have pictures, and it was just a miracle. So the very next day, I quit my job. I quit my job with less than $500. I gave up my health insurance. I was still needing, medical care, and it all just worked out. I can't even explain it. Like, for instance, 2 weeks prior to this, I had been in a car accident. I had hit somebody on the interstate going 60 miles per hour. I needed to get over. I looked, merged, and I don't know where this car came from, but I bumped right into him, and I could feel myself being pushed back. So now I know an angel. I had to hit this car to like get insurance money, because that's what sustained me when I quit this job, the $1,500 I got or whatever. And I can remember being pushed back over. So it was all being mapped out, right? There's all these things that were happening.
There's always like a higher perspective. There's something that's unseen.
Mm-hmm.
There's always more to the story.
Yeah.
Right.
And I realize we're just, as lovingly as possible. We're these puny little humans with these tiny little minds that can't see everything. And so there's always something, but that check sustained me, and then I remember I was like, okay, so the first day when I had no job, I was at home, and I'm like, okay, now what? Like, what do I do? I wasn't a Reiki master. So I reached out to the Reiki master I'd been seeing, and I was like, any chance you offer scholarships, because I need to become Reiki certified, but I don't have any money, and I just quit my job. Like, what? And she was like, you know what? This was amazing. She's like, Rhianna, I knew a month ago you were going to be in this class, and I'll take payments from you, $50 a month, until you can get it paid off.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. So within 3 weeks, I found a part-time job, and they needed this job. It was wonderful. It was a contract, and they needed all the random skills I had. Like, I had done recruiting. I was a retail manager. They needed every single thing that I'd ever done. And this part-time job sustained me until I was able to get on my feet. And I truly believe that when we do relinquish control and we follow our intuition, even like I was dating this guy at the time, and he's like, you did what? Like, you're going to do what? have you, like, he was like feeling my head. Are you okay? And I was like, I can't explain it, but I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm following my intuition. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up the most is this logically doesn't make sense, but I know in my heart I'm supposed to be doing this. And I think the most miraculous things in the universe happen when we get out of our head and into our heart, just trust. And that's what he did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where we should live from 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because when you have that kind of faith, these miracles show up in your life. They just do. Yeah. I was so much like you, so much wanting to control how things unfolded. I wanted to know the timing. I wanted to be being lined up and, prepare for any eventuality, circumstance, It took me so long to surrender, but once I did, literally miracles.
Yeah.
Like, how did this even find me? How did this person find me? How did this opportunity find me? It was like, once I just took my hands off the wheel, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what I'm called to do, and it's going to work out somehow. But I had to detach from the how. The how is this going to happen? I had to, separate my mind. I had to shut that down and just have faith. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a sign in my studio now that says when we try to figure out the how, we are in the way of the universe.
Right.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
It's a great reminder. So I jumped, and within 6 weeks I was certified. I had a Reiki studio open. I had a part-time job. I mean, it was magic, and it was the universe really showing up because I surrendered and I did what they were asking me to do, and it just felt right. Like, we have these internal GPS systems, and if we're ignoring it, all these negative emotions roll up, and I couldn't explain to anybody how I was going to be okay. I just knew it was going to be okay. And here we are, almost 3 years later, and it's getting better and better every day.
Well, you're probably so practiced now in following your intuition and knowing that whatever you're being guided to is really exactly where you need to be. But I still have to say, we are human, so it really does take so much courage, even though, I think both of us have had so many miracles and so many incredible things present in our lives. Mm-hmm. There's still that human that's like, are you sure?
For sure.
I should do this, or that, or this direction.
Yeah. Well, and especially for me, because I'm a master number 22 and a life path 4. And so 4, like, one of their main things is security. And so I'm single. I don't have a stable job. So it was really terrifying. And I actually had to work for about 2 years to really overcome lack mentality. I grew up in a poor family. Their parents were poor and their parents were poor. And so I had a lot of generational crap to get through to really find abundance. But I'll tell you, like, when you're listening to that guidance, for instance, one day I was driving and I heard citrine, you need citrine right now. And I was like, no, I don't actually need citrine. And they're like, citrine right now. And I was a block away from the crystal store that I got my rose quartz from. I was like, okay, I'll go get a citrine stone. And I walked in and I got my citrine, I picked it out, and I was ready to pay. And there was a woman across the aisle from me, and I kept looking at her, and I was like, I'm supposed to talk to her, but I don't know what about. This is going to be really weird. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to talk to her. That's too weird. Like, it's just too weird. So I paid for my stone. She'd paid for her stuff before me. I walk out, and I'm not kidding you. She's parked next to me with the window down, and she's doodling on her phone. And I was like, okay, I am supposed to talk to her, right?
Right? Yeah.
So I just went up to her and I was like, listen, I know this is going to be really weird, but I'm supposed to talk to you. I don't know why. Hi, my name's Rhianna. And she's like, hi, I'm Bree. And we got to talking. And you know what? she told me about Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction. And I'd never heard this law before. And I was 3 weeks out from quitting my job. And it was the piece of information I needed, the next step, right? So I did trust the step. And it opened up this entire world for me. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have to be poor. And I don't have to, you know, be.
You can change your story. You can change your energy and your relationship to everything. Everything changes, right?
Yeah.
You have to remain stuck in that pattern. I think some of this process is really detaching ourselves from the programming and the mindset and the pattern that goes back. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
It goes back generations. If we can somehow break that cycle by doing our inner work and getting educated and, you know, following our inner guidance, it's so powerful what can happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, I think the thing I've done the most is unprogram myself. That has been the most challenging work and the thing that I have
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really hard because it's not just our parents that were told this. It has been
society.
You know, and it's all of society. And to say things like, you know, rent is easily showing up and it's on the, you know, or thanking the universe as if it's already shown up. That is so opposite of everything we've ever been taught that it feels like you are a lunatic when you're like, thank you, universe, for the rent easily showing up. I appreciate that. And they're like, you're still $1,200 away from rent.
You got 10 days.
Yeah.
You know, but I think also it's not just the words we're speaking, but the energy of the vibration that we're putting out. We have to believe what we're speaking. We have to energetically create and attract this to ourselves. It's not just the power of words. Yeah. We have to really own and embrace and know that this is coming to us. I watched this clip not too long ago. It was Jim Carrey, and he was on the Oprah show, and he had put a check for $10 million or something like that in his wallet. He had no job. He was basically living out of his car, and he gave himself like 5 years. I don't remember all the details. He wrote a check to himself for acting services rendered.
Yeah, I love this story.
Yeah, and he just knew in every fiber of his being this was a reality. It wasn't reality yet. He didn't have any idea how it was going to come to pass. And this is it really mirrors what we're talking about, right? You don't know the how. You can't even see it as being, you know, in your reality at all. But there's a knowing. There's this inner knowing. And the energy of that, it brings it to you. Mm-hmm. If you can really energetically own it, feel it, know it.
Yeah.
Where the power is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, so for people who would be like, okay, but how do I do that? Like, that sounds great, Wendy, but how do I do that?
You're full of shit, actually. That's what they're thinking.
You know, I used to joke, I'm like, I need a how-to fill in the blank for dummies on everything. I was like, but how do you actually do that, right? And so for me, it was to be really mindful of my thoughts. The minute I noticed a thought, it, you know, like, and I'll catch myself with my kids. They'll ask me for something and I'm like, we don't have the money for that. And they'll go, right now, it's on the way.
I love it that you started with them. They're already creating that prosperity mindset and getting that lesson.
Well, I've really committed myself to create a world for them that I had to work really hard and took 7 years plus to figure it out. And so, you know, like, we'll be driving and I'm like, everybody think green light, we gotta go. So, like, everybody think green light. And so I've got a whole car full of green light thinkers, and sure enough, we get to where we need to go. So just stuff like that. But it's really being mindful of, what am I thinking? And is this truth? And why do I think this is truth? Like, getting really curious about your beliefs and why you think that is. And then for me, staying in the question has been huge. It's part of Access Consciousness's modality, what would it take for this to show up? How does it get any better than this? But the minute I am trying to figure out the how and get in the universe's way,
yes.
how are you going to make it happen, universe? Because I don't see how you're going to make this happen.
Yeah, that one seed of doubt, that's just like adding ballast and drag to the whole process. You're elevating. As soon as you insert that seed of doubt, or you insert that negativity or that negative self-talk, you might as well just be adding ballast to your hot air balloon. You're just going to start sinking down so fast, And one thing I found about conscious living and conscious thinking is we can actually reprogram our neural pathways. We can reprogram our life. We can change our lives. It is 100% possible. Mm-hmm. It takes consciousness. It takes a conscious attention and attention, right? Almost all day, every day. Pretty soon it becomes a habit. But in the beginning, you have to really be mindful of what direction your thoughts are going, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is huge. And quantum physics is proving that. Dr. Joe Dispenza is a great...
I love his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the trick is for me, I think for a lot of people, we wear busy like a badge. We're like, I'm busy. And, and that's, wow, that is really part of, if you want to talk about, the spiritual beings who want to keep you in fear and in anger and low vibrating, they want you to be really busy. Because if you're busy, you don't stop to think, what am I thinking? What have I been thinking for the last hour? What's influencing me? Have I even breathed in the last 10 minutes?
Right. I think busyness, chronic busyness is really a distraction in an attempt to deny truth.
Yeah. I agree.
It's a mental construct that tells you you're being productive when in fact you're running from yourself.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think for me, those first few weeks when I didn't have a job, society would have told me, Rhianna, you need to get a job, and like any job. But I intuitively knew that is absolutely going against the grain of what I need right now. And I spent a week doing nothing but quieting my brain. I probably did like 100 guided meditations.
Awesome.
I did exactly opposite of what felt right. And I gotta be honest with you, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Like I fought through fear. Like, oh my God, I really need to stop.
Of course.
But I knew that there's something here, and if I'm busy, I'm not going to hear direction. And then I got, oh my God, was that my thought? Like just quieting down, you realize the program running, you realize what you're thinking, judgments you're having, and you can't do that until you get quiet. So that was really, really big for me. Law of attraction was huge, getting me to this point. And then believing that I have the ability to reprogram my story. And some people
everyone does, but they don't realize it. They don't believe it. But we are given every single tool to be the person that we're born to be. Every tool it's already within us. It's just believing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because society has set it up where what I'm learning right now is to invert my truth. Everything that I think is true, I'm flipping it. It's not true. And everything I think is not true, I'm flipping it and it's my truth. And it's just helping me get a grip on, what has been programmed and what's actually possible. Right. So it's just.
Well, our thoughts are so powerful. Mm-hmm. Our thoughts and emotions attached to those thoughts are so powerful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are living in a place of fear and lack because that's where their thoughts and their emotions are taking them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same amount of energy to shift that story and create dreams, possibility, opportunity. It takes the same exact amount of energy and emotional attachment. It's just, are we going to feed the negative outcome, or are we going to feed the dream?
Yeah.
Why not feed the dream? Why not change the story? No, why not change the dialogue, the inner dialogue? And
yeah.
it happens, you know?
Yeah. And a lot of people don't, in all fairness, a lot of people don't know what they don't know, right? Ignorance is not always bliss. There's suffering. There's deep suffering. So for me, when I'm coaching people, or just, you know, if somebody messages me and they ask a question like, so, you know, like in law of attraction, they teach you choose one emotion higher. So if you're angry or depressed or you're in lack mode, what could you do right now to just lift your frequency, your vibration just a little bit? And so I listen to Jim Gaffigan. So I got to laugh, right? I have to laugh. And then I listen to babies giggling on YouTube, because it's impossible not to laugh or raise your vibration when you're listening to babies giggle. So I think understanding, like, okay, I'm human. I'm having real human emotions right now. I'm in the gutter. What could I do when I'm ready? Because you want to honor those emotions and not just run from them. But what could I do right now to just lift my vibration just a little bit? You know, and then maybe in a couple hours, I'll shoot for just a little bit higher, because you're not going to go from depressed to joyful. It's just, what could you do now?
But even just a little, even moving the needle just a little bit is going to make a difference, right? So, you know, I find music is great for me. Dancing is fun for me. Watching Ellen, you know, things that make me laugh, like you're talking about, are great. Calling a friend. Hooking up with somebody.
The right friend.
The right friend, yes. Not the one that's sucking every ounce of energy out of you. You want to call someone who you feel, you know, who elevates you. Right. Yeah. I've also found, though, as my vibration and energetic signature has been rising, those people that don't resonate with me anymore, they've organically fallen away. All of a sudden, you just don't talk anymore. There was nothing that happened between us. They just are no longer part of my daily inner circle. They've just kind of organically fallen away. And that does happen, you know, because we attract the people that we're resonating with.
Yeah.
And as our vibration and frequency shifts and changes, our circle starts to mirror that, right?
And I think to remember that that's okay and it's normal, because I really struggled for a long time, and I've even reached out to you. Okay, talk me off the ledge, Wendy, because it's so easy to take it personally. You know,
absolutely.
People 3 weeks ago were laughing and joking and helping you. Now all of a sudden they've realigned with somebody else, and you are like not on their radar, and it's like, whoa, what did I do? But it really is just a shift in frequency, and that's part of the process.
It's important not to get stuck in the negative story too, because that's the first thing we think. What did I say? Did I do something? It has nothing to do with us. It's literally an energetic frequency signature. Maybe you went satellite and they stayed in AM radio.
Yeah.
They just couldn't meet you anymore. They, you know, there was a little bit of overlap in the bandwidth, and then somehow you just do a little quantum jump, and boom, you just have that vibration, you know. And it's really hard because, you know, I think being on this journey of ascension, this spiritual path that we're on, we can feel alone on this path a lot. Because a lot of us don't have family members who are walking the same path. A lot of us are the beacon of light to show our family members and people around us that there's another way of being. And it can be a very lonely road sometimes. So that's why I want to share our stories, you know. So out there watching these interviews know, hey, there's other people going through this. I'm not alone. Put your comments down below. Let's connect. Let's create a community where we can support each other, and you don't have to be alone. Facebook,
For sure.
so many groups that, are available, or we need
and one thing,
support each other.
Yeah. One thing that I found that worked for me is when people vibrate out of my existence, one, really understand it's not personal. It comes down to our frequency. Maybe that person wasn't going to allow you to further grow, or you are triggering something in them that still needs healed. So it's not actually you, but it's really them. But I think for me, when I start to experience that, I'm like, okay, universe, where's the rest of my tribe? Like, I need my tribe at this frequency. Because you always hear that your soul tribe will find you. But I think we miss the point. We miss the rest of the conversation where you might have new tribe every frequency along the way. And so once you hit a new frequency level, you're like, okay, where's my tribe for this part of the journey? And I did that 3 days ago, and somebody came in for a session today, and we talked for an hour and a half afterwards. And she had at least 5 or 6 nuggets of information that I had been asking for.
There you go, right?
Voila. So all you have to do really is and it's not so simple. It's like, ask for your tribe, ask for the money to show up. That's why I really tried to stay in the question so much. It's like, I'm looking at rents due, and it's like, what would it take for the rest of this rent to show up easily? And then you go take a nap, and I'm not kidding you, somebody books a session.
Right.
Difference,
Yes,
or
yes.
Where's the rest of my soul tribe? I'm feeling a little bit, without right now. And then, somebody walks in and there they are. So I think that
really trusting the process is huge.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's going to work out. It's really going to work out. And we're never alone.
No.
We're really never alone.
We're never alone. And, along those lines, we're never alone. And asking the universe for help. I think a lot of times people, they know they have an angel, or they know they have a spirit guide, but a lot of times people are so stuck in the muck that they forget it's a free will universe. And so,
I was going to say, this is a free will zone. If you ask, there's no, even though we have a spiritual team around us and guides that want to help move us forward, our selves certainly want us to ascend and go higher and evolve. If we refuse to ask, they're bound by spiritual law that they cannot intervene.
Yeah. I tell clients, I'm like, they're literally just twiddling their thumbs.
Exactly.
Waiting for you to say, even if it's like, I don't know what I need right now, but I need something, you have given them permission to go to work and make things happen. And I can't tell you how many times I've just said, help. I can't even articulate what I need right now, but help. And they immediately go to work. And sometimes it's a hug. I can feel the little tingles coming in, and I can feel the hug. Sometimes somebody will call me, and it's like, I know that wasn't an accident, so they can go to work.
Or they're guiding you to certain people or certain places, or like that woman in the crystal store, there's some sort of higher cosmic alignment happening that we're not aware of. And if we can just trust our intuition. I think the hardest part is our society, since the inception, since the beginning of time, has been programmed not to think for ourselves, not to trust ourselves. We're always looking outside. We're always looking for a guru. We're always looking to stay with the pack. We don't want to be free thinkers. We don't want to question or use discernment around anything, because God forbid you should have a different opinion from the 99% of the population. You'll be shunned or shamed or judged or whatever it is, and you don't want to do that. So everybody wants to stay with the herd. Real spiritual growth can only happen if we use discernment and we listen to our own guidance and intuition, and honor our ideas and honor our thoughts, and follow our truth and follow our heart and open our heart. That is the only way we can break this enslavement programming that we have all been subjected to, and break out of this fear that has held us down forever.
Yeah.
Now's the time. Now's the time to run, jump, and trust. This message really is very timely, I think, for humanity.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely believe, and I think we are our own gurus. Like,
yes,
having the guru is ending because everyone is getting the same light-coded energy coming in right now. You are being activated just as much as I am. However, if you're not practicing trusting that intuition, you're going to constantly feel like you need somebody else. So often people will ask me a question and I'm just like, well, what do you think? Or I think it sounds like you already know the answer. So like, not to sound like a pain, but like, why are you asking me? Because you already know. And
I think a lot of people know, but then they want the validation. Like, so I'm feeling this. I mean, we all know our truths. We all know our answers, but we kind of want to hear it from someone else. Like, yeah, that's probably.
I agree, but from my own experience, the biggest magical moments have been when I've trusted myself and when I have trusted my intuition.
Right.
And even like, you could do something like, for instance, coming to Houston and doing the recalibration. That was on my radar for months. And I felt like that's quite the investment right now. Is this right? Like right before I go on vacation? And I said, okay, I think I'm supposed to go to Houston and do this recalibration. So if that's true, I need the number 27 to show up. I need to see, a butterfly, and I need to see a unicorn before 9:00 p.m. tonight. And sure as crap, all three of them showed up. And so, that's validation, but internal validation at the same time, because you're trusting and you're saying, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to do this, but could you give me a really specific sign? Because I think I'm sorry, I'm running out of battery. Had I said to somebody else, okay, right before I go on vacation and I take 11 unpaid days off, I'm going to go to Houston and buy a flight and a hotel and money and pay for this recalibration. Most people, even though they love me and adore me, would come from a place of their own filter and their own fear.
Absolutely.
And so they would put that on me, and I wouldn't get a true answer of what was right for me. So I think a lot of people just have to remember that. And
you have to really tune in. And by the way, I'm very excited that you're coming to Houston
to
have a session with me and get recalibrated.
I'm
excited about it.
I have a feeling some really big stuff is going to come from it. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yes, I can't wait to see you and hug you in person too. It's going to be awesome. I'm curious, how have the girls been, I know that they're a big part of your life. How has it impacted your decision making? Because it's one thing to have courage when your decisions are impacting just you and you're single, but then you have these children that you have to care for. I just want to honor your courage and willingness to really trust and know that what you get is true and that it's going to work out.
It is huge. It is everything. I have to keep in mind. But I truly believe, and I know in my heart, that if I wake up every day with the intention of serving from a pure place, the universe knows they have 2 other human beings to take care of. And so it's hard to explain, but I just know, like, I'm showing up every day. I'm serving the way I'm being asked to serve. I'm doing it from a place of joy. And I know that because of that, I'm going to be taken care of. And it takes practice. Like, you have to just jump and then see that you're caught. And then you have to jump again and see that you're caught. And eventually you realize, okay, like, you know, in Gabby Bernstein's works, the universe has my back. I mean, it literally has our back. When we show up for the right reasons, we're absolutely going to be taken care of.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And also, don't you feel like when you are walking your path and you're in full alignment, there's no way that it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Because you're so aligned with your soul purpose, and you're so aligned in your service and how you're walking through this world and showing up in this world. There's no way it's not, the universe isn't going to mirror and align and match that alignment.
I absolutely love attraction.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Do you have any words of advice for people who are maybe wrestling with that push-pull? Should I jump? Should I stay? Should I jump? Should I stay? Maybe some advice on how they can come to the right decision, how they can quiet their fears and drop into the heart, you know, to help them.
So I think the biggest thing for me was just to get, well, one, surround yourself with people who are supportive. Or, like, say your husband, bless his soul, it doesn't align with your spiritual beliefs or where you're going. So you're going to have to find a way to separate your own energy and get quiet. You know, you don't have to say yes to every single outing or birthday party or invitation. You have to get quiet, and you have to really focus on your own frequency, your own vibration. How good can you feel? Because that's frequency, right? The more positive emotions are higher in frequency. I mean, I think that concept alone is just really still kind of out there for people. So sorry, my cat's making a bunch of noise. How good can you feel? How quiet can you get? And then, you know, just maybe trusting, maybe start small, you know, ask a little thing like, I don't know, should I go to this party on Saturday and ask for a specific sign? But I think for me, it was getting quiet and getting away from the other influences, whether it's TV and the news or negative Nancy or the alcohol. You know, like, I used to numb all this information coming in with 4 beers a night. So what is it that's keeping your vibration low?
I think people don't realize that alcohol is lower vibrational.
Mm-hmm.
It dulls your senses. It lowers you vibrationally, and also if you're drinking heavily, if you're heavily compromised, it can also open you up so other energies and entities can attach or come in, and
yeah, totally. And
you're really vulnerable from a soul standpoint. You're really vulnerable if you are compromising yourself on a regular basis by a lot of alcohol abuse or drug abuse.
And that could be even like watching horror movies, or
yes,
you know, that could be a lot of things could influence you. And so really being mindful of what is influencing you. How do you feel when you're like done watching the show or talking to this person or eating this food or whatever? How do you truly feel? And just I mean, I still have a drink here and there, but really being mindful of your frequency on an hour-to-hour basis and adjusting accordingly.
Definitely being mindful of what you're inviting in.
Mm-hmm.
On all of those: food, drink, entertainment, media, friends, family. We have family that are toxic. People have toxic family members and feel they have to continue to take the abuse. I'm here to tell you, you do not.
Yeah, totally. No.
Because you're a blood relative does not mean, that does not give that person license to disrespect you, mistreat you, abuse you. We need to at some point draw a line in the sand and stand up and respect and honor ourselves and our souls enough to say, I will no longer tolerate this. And if we're disconnected, so be it. Because we need to really honor our souls and love ourselves and surround ourselves with love and support. And if we're not getting it through our family, then we need to find a community or friends that are going to offer that, because our soul needs to be fertilized, nourished, watered. We're like a garden. You don't want to be pouring Roundup on our soul all the time, and then we're wilting and shrinking. We want to be expanding and growing, and so we need to be so mindful, right?
I agree. And it goes back to slowing down enough to be aware of how you're thinking and feeling. A lot of people don't even realize that toxic family member is actually the root of their problem, or the TV show they're watching is actually the root of their nightmares,
or the people they're hanging out with who they think are friends, but all they're doing is bringing them down or criticizing or judging or whatever it is. And Rhianna, this is something that's kind of pressing on my mind right now. Since we're both healers and light workers, don't you feel that so many of us, I know it's been true for me, I used to give so much of myself and give myself nothing. I felt like I just needed to be in service 24/7. I needed to put everyone first, friends, family, colleagues. Everything came first until I was so depleted. And that's what caused my transformation. You go into, you become a shell. Your soul starts to die.
Yeah.
I think there's so many light workers who feel like, no, it's too much to honor myself and take care of myself and love myself and nourish myself and
we're taught self-care and boundaries is selfish.
Yeah, right.
And especially mothers or single parents, we're taught that is selfish. I mean, I think a lot of people, think spa days and bubble baths, that's the only way to self-care. But saying no is also major self-care. And so I think that's true for me. Like, even when I'm on Facebook and I see somebody sick or their kid is sick, I immediately think, oh, I should send them Reiki. I could help that. And then I think, okay, well, I'm talking to my kid. I have dinner next. Like, I wish I could send it to everybody. And I can't even tell you how much of my time I've donated for free. Because I feel like I have this ability and I can help and I can make a difference. And then you're right. And then I get sick and the universe reminds me, you need to slow down and take care of yourself. Don't
draw boundaries.
Yeah. So it's, I think for a lot of light workers and indirect healers, it is taking care of their own energy field first. Which salt fast and saging and getting Reiki.
Meditation is huge for me.
What?
Meditation is huge for me.
Me too. It's hugely recharging. Or, treating yourself to a walk around the lake or a new crystal or saying no to the birthday party on Saturday that you really don't want to go to anyway.
Yeah.
We have to take care of ourselves. And I think Oprah said this on one of her shows. It's like, you are supposed to give from the overflow of your cup. We forget that. The overflow of your cup is what's for everybody else.
Right.
Most of us are like, I've got another.
We're running on empty typically, I think. Oh no, you froze.
Are you there? Sorry.
You froze there for a sec.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really low on battery for whatever reason. This is like battery. So, but I would say for sure that protecting your own boundaries, your own energy, and being mindful of what you're putting in and what you're thinking about is probably, you know, foundational for anybody that wants to feel better, whether you're a light worker or not.
Right,
So.
right. So important. Well, Rhianna, thank you so much. I'm just so grateful for your time today. It's been awesome having you on as a guest. I hope people got some wonderful nuggets of wisdom from our conversation. I know they learned so much from you and your journey. I'll put all of your contact information at the end. So if you want to work with Rhianna, she does distance sessions. She's available probably through a website, or we'll put all the information at the end. To all of you out there, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Please subscribe, like, and share. I love y'all, and be kind to yourselves. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.